Everybody you talk to knows who Pac-Man is.
People know Pac-Man that have never even played the game, but they know what it is and it identifies that youthful sense of entertainment and fun.
I think it brings adults back to really feeling like kids again.
We all want to play. We all want to socialize.
Enjoy food and drinks and laughing.
257 is going to be a fabulous restaurant with entertainment options. You know, and the fun part for me has been, I'll never forget the first time I saw the game. So it's like, I was working part-time in an arcade in 1981 while I was going to college, and I loved games. I've always loved games. It was fun. We were playing, you know, Star Castle and lots of shoot 'em games. And the first time I saw the game wasn't in our arcade. It was in a competitor's. And I was looking at somebody else's location, and we saw this game, and I was like, what the heck is that? I mean, because nobody expected this weird game with the maze and the thing eating. I wasn't shooting anything. It was so bizarre. But there were lines of people trying to get to it. And it was like, I called my man. I remember vividly calling my manager going, oh my God, I don't know what this game is, but you've got to see this thing. People are crawling all over it. And at that point, it was really exploding in the early 1981. It was really kind of just taking off at that point. So that was amazing, and I've spent my whole life hanging around Pac-Man since then. So it's Iwatani-san changed my life.
Yeah, it was the first game that you weren't shooting something. You know, and you know, some people have said it's the first horror survival game as well, because you are running from ghosts and you have very limited resources.
Yeah, and I have some other theories about, I mean, 'cause people ask all the time, why is it so good? Why has it lasted so long? So to me, I mean, one of the things that I kind of think in my mind is like, it was really an early simulation of a multiplayer environment. I mean, each ghost had his own personality, and so you were playing against 4 distinct personalities. And to me, it was like basically a game changer. It was changing the way, before I was a tank shooting another tank, or you know, it was depersonalized, but Pac-Man suddenly was almost humanized, and they all had a personality, so it was kind of fun.
Yeah, because each one of the ghosts have like their own, like, you know, way that they sort of handle you or mishandle you, if you will. And like other games, you were just kind of dodging, you know, patterns of, you know, villains and stuff like this. This was one that, you know, Blinky really just comes after you, and you can get kind of upset with that red ghost keep coming at you.
Billy, how did you get into playing Pac-Man? I mean, really. I mean, you know, it was an unusual game at the time. How did you decide you wanted to be good at Pac-Man?
Well, at the time when video games took off, I played pinball, a lot of pinball. And I would say that I'm as good at pinball then as I am, or eventually became, at games. But all the attention and all the competition was at video games. And I mean, I didn't play games that were obscure. They didn't have competition. So I mean, Pac-Man was a game that I chose because I wanted that competition. That is surely not my most memorable moment. And I'm actually going to speak slow because I want the professor to hear this, probably hearing this for the first time. It's not getting the perfect score. That was not the most memorable moment. After that, the media explosion that was created, they came from all over the world, and people who flew in just to do interviews to me. I knew the phone was going to ring from Namco. I knew it, and soon enough, one day it rang, and that was the initial contact. And to make a long story short, eventually, again, just as him, the most memorable moment goes back to Masaya Nakamura. He flew me to Japan on a first-class ticket. There at the Tokyo Game Show, I had many world records in addition to Pac-Man, in addition to the perfect game. He crowned me the video game player of the century at the Tokyo Game Show. And even that's not the most memorable moment. I was at the Namco headquarters the day before that. And I was in a room and I'm waiting for him to come in. And I was there simply with his assistant, Mr. Icky. Yeah, and he speaks English better than me, so I was happy.
More grammatically correct, anyway.
Yeah. So what happened was, he came in the room and there was 9 people with him, and they were described as his inner circle of developers.
Apart, destroying things and lining stuff up. It's fun because often when you look in these movies, you're doing very real-world situations, and this is a sort of an excuse, you know, freedom to go a bit nutty. And we had a lot of fun. Absolutely. At that time, when I was 12-ish, the arcade games were coming to play, and I would ride my BMX to the local cafe in Ashton, see what game was there, and spend my, it would have been 10 pence at the time probably, on whatever game was there, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, or some of the other games that we have in this movie. And probably spent many hours in that cafe. Maybe it was a misspent childhood, maybe it wasn't. Well, to be honest, I had no problem. It seemed to me a lot more fun to have him running around destroying cars and people and causing havoc than just eating the power pellets. So yeah, no problem at all. Well, let's see. Would you expect him to chomp a Mini Cooper into 2 pieces and then jump from an elevated parking structure in Manhattan from one floor to the other? And lastly, let me say happy birthday, Pac-Man. So I can be with you guys. Hope there's going to be a little bit of insight and have a lot of fun tonight. Cheers.
Hi there, Chicago. This is Josh Gad wishing Pac-Man a very happy 35th birthday. You know, Pac-Man, I can't think for the life of me of anything more beautiful, anything more epic, anything
way. We're obviously here to celebrate Pac-Man's 35th birthday, which is like, yay, go ahead, let's clap for that. It's like a milestone for us. My name is David Bishop. I'm Executive Vice President of Namco USA. I have been with Namco since 1990, and I kind of grew up in the business. Before that, I worked for Atari Games in California, and before that, I worked for a really small arcade company. I started in the business in 1981 as an arcade employee, and I've been in it ever since. I love games. I've played it my whole life. I grew up with Pac-Man, and it's a big deal for me. So it's very personal. It's part of my life. In fact, the Pac-Man that you see walking around here today is actually related to me. So as you say hi to Pac-Man and say hello, it's a very personal part of my family. With us today, we have a very special guest, Professor Toru Iwatani.
Hi.
I don't have to introduce him. I think everybody knows who he is and the contribution he's made for all of us in the history of gaming. We also have Mr. Billy Mitchell. And Billy and I have been friends for a number of years now, and he still gives me a really hard time every time I see him.
He's got it coming.
Yeah. We also have from Bandai Namco Entertainment America, Marco Ma. And Ben Acevedo. And they're going to give us some insight to some of the new things we're working on. And I just bumped the table. Okay, good. All right. So for the interest of time, we got a lot going on today. I know everyone kind of submitted some questions for Iwatani-san so they could prepare to kind of shorten the translation periods, but we'll still talk. If you guys have some other questions, we can take them. Some. So the first question that we got in for Iwatani-san, we'll just roll right into this. The attractive design really made Pac-Man stand out. What else did you do to differentiate Pac-Man from other games at the time?
魅力的なデザインがパックマンを他のどのゲームよりも際立たせていますね。当時デザインの他にも何か他のゲームと差別化するためにどのようなことをなさいましたか？
はい、パックマンのゲームは、非常に細かい工夫がいっぱい入っております。それは、プレイヤーの気持ちをプレイヤーの心理をよく考えたゲーム設計をされてますので、小さい子どもさんから年配の人までゲームができるような、ものに仕上がってます。
So Pac-Man was created using very specialized technique, I guess, with the player's feelings at the forefront, in that small children and older people are able to enjoy the game.
そしてもう一つがですね、パッと見てすぐにゲームの目的が分かるということですね。つまりパックマンはゴーストに捕まらないようにクッキーを食べ尽くす ただそれだけなんです。シンプルなゲームルールが大きな特徴です。
So one of the special points about Pac-Man is that you can look at it and you can immediately see what the purpose of the game is. That you want to make sure you don't get eaten by the ghost, and that you have to get the pellets and whatnot. A very simple concept.
So why do you think the game is so popular among women?
このゲームが女性に人気があるのはなぜだとお考えですか？
はい、パックマンを作るときには女性をターゲットにゲームを作りましたので、すぐにプレーができるように4方向の上下左右の、コントロールだけにしました。それから、パックマンとゴーストがとても可愛いキャラクターにして敵ながら、憎めないゴースト、ちょうどテレビアニメーションのトム&ジェリーのような関係、こういうところが女性に受けたと思います。
So Pac-Man was largely designed, they were targeted for design. Immediately the play has the joystick with the 4 directions, very easy to use. Also, Pac-Man and the ghosts are very cute, which is attractive to women. And it's an enemy, there's an enemy, but you can't hate the enemy. And kind of like the animation Tom and Jerry, in that vein.
男性を無視をして作ったのに、なんで男性がプレーをしているのか今でも不思議です。
So the men were ignored when this game was made, but so I don't understand why men are so interested in this game.
Maybe because the game had a lot of women around it.
Good point, Billy. Iwatani-san, did you take any inspiration from Japanese animation or manga?
ゲーム開発の時に日本の漫画かアニメからインスピレーションを受けたようなことはございましたか？
はい、パックマンのゲームで、パワークッキーを食べると、パックマンが今度は逆にゴーストを追いかける立場が逆転するのは、テレビアニメーションのポパイがほうれん草を食べるとブルートをやっつけられる、そういう逆転の発想はテレビアニメーションのポパイから来てます。
Yeah, so the Pac-Man game, you have to eat the power cookies and then it turns around and it can eat the ghost. Well, it's on the same vein as Popeye. When Popeye eats spinach, then he can fight Bruto, whatever it is. Bruto, okay. Sorry, can you tell I didn't watch cartoons? So that's how it was in that vein.
あとゴーストのキャラクターは日本の、お化けの九太郎っていう漫画アニメーションのお化けの九太郎というキャラクターと、それから、そうですね、キャスパーですね。キャスパーにも少し似ている。
So the ghost actually kind of looks like the Japanese Obake no Q. It's Ghost Q character, which is very popular in Japan, which I know, but I don't know Popeye. And the Casper the Friendly Ghost. It's similar to that.
Okay, I'm going to ad-lib a little bit on this one. When Pac-Man first came out, there were no video game character goods. And obviously, we're in a facility today called Level 257 that was literally inspired by Pac-Man, by the philosophy of Pac-Man, including a retail store that we have downstairs where we do a lot of proprietary and customized retail goods. Iwatani-san, how do you feel about the range of merchandise that has been created since Pac-Man's release? I mean, it's everywhere.
Pac-Man が最初にリリースされた時にはまだビデオゲームのキャラクターグッズというようなものは存在していませんでしたけれども、リリース後にかなり広い範囲にわたるさまざまな関連商品が作られてきたことに対してどのようにお感じになっていますか？今現在このビルはパックマンだらけですし、リテールのお店もありますから、数多くの商品ができてどのようにお感じですか？
はい、パックマンはすごくキャラクターのデザインを考えましたので、これは絶対にキャラクター商品の展開ができるというふうに思ってました。で、開発中にパックマンのぬいぐるみ、ゴーストのぬいぐるみを綿を入れて作りました。それからパックマンの T シャツも自分で自家製で作ったり て、もうキャラクター展開はもう予定通りでした。
So the Pac-Man character design was already thought and considered. I created a Pac-Man out of with cotton, stuffed with cotton, and I also created my own T-shirt before the merchandising began. So this was all well thought out.
How do you think mobile gaming has impacted the gaming industry?
モバイルゲーミングはゲーム業界にどのようなインパクトを与えたとお考えですか？
皆さんモバイルゲームというかモバイルを持って、いるのは、いつでもどこでもできるっていうものを持ってるっていうことですね。ということはいつでもどこでもそのゲームができるという素晴らしいアイテムを手にされてるという、そういうところにすごくモバイルの可能性を感じています。
So with the cell phones, with mobile gaming, everyone can hold it in their hand. You can play it anywhere, anytime. And the fact that you can game anytime, anywhere on your mobile is a wonderful thing.
When you look back over the past 35 years, what do you think are the most interesting developments in gaming?
この過去35年を振り返ってみて、
はい、
ゲーミングにおいて一番興味深い進化、発展を遂げたものは何だと思いますか？
そうですね、今から35年前は、パーソナルコンピューターも PC もなかったですし、それから、ネットワーク、インターネットもなかったので、今皆さん先ほどのモバイルでインターネットで接続されているというところがとても大きな革新だったと思います。そうすると知らない人とゲームをする、地球の裏側の人とゲームをするという、これは非常に大きな飛躍だったと思います。
So if you think back 35 years ago, there were no PC, no personal computers, no gaming, no internet, which is, a big thing because now with mobile internet, you can play games with people from the other side of the world. And so that's kind of a neat concept to be able to play the game.
で、僕がゲームをしていてネットでつながった知らない人とやってるゲームがあったとしても、それはあなたかもしれないんですよ。
So it's that, I'm playing a game here and online, connected by the internet, I could be playing this game with you. You don't know.
Iwatani-san, are you excited to see people's reactions to Pixels, or are you excited about Pixels the movie?
ピクセルをご覧になる皆さんのリアクションに対してどのような期待感をお持ちでしょうか？
そうですね、もうピクセルの映画も素晴らしいです。もうパックマンだけじゃなくてギャラがセンチピード、ドンキーコング、そして、キューバートまで出てくるので、80年代のゲームキャラクターが勢ぞろいして、当時は 2D の平たいキャラクターだったんですが、もう 3D になって迫力があってこう迫ってくるっていうのは、キャラクターが育って大きくなって大人になって帰ってきて圧倒的な存在感を楽しめることができます。
So what the Pixel movie is fantastic. Not only is Pac-Man in the movie, but Galaga, Centipede, Donkey Kong. You got Q-Bart. What is it? Q-Bert? Okay, I'm sorry. Q-Bert. So, and all of the 80s art that's involved. Back then it was 2D and it was flat. Well, now it's 3D. It's more impactful, and in a way it's more matured now. And it has quite an impact at the movie.
ゲームキャラクターたちの同窓会みたいなものですね。
It's like a reunion of the 80s characters.
Iwatani-san, this is a question I get asked a lot, and it really relates to, after 35 years, we still talk about Pac-Man, and it's become a cultural icon. So why do you think Pac-Man has remained such an icon and continues to be relevant around the world?
いつも今も聞かれる質問なんですけども、パックマンも今も世界中で偉大なアイコンとしてずっと存続していますが、その理由は何だと思いますか？
そうですね、とにかくシンプルにするということで、見ての通り口しかありません。で、口しかない パックマンは、食べるということのアイコンでありますし、ゲームというもののアイコンにもなっているというふうに思ってます。で、将来ですね、この口だけのパックマンがやっぱり口っていうのは食べるだけじゃなくて歌も歌いますよね。ですからパックマンが「あーふふ」って歌を歌ったら面白いんじゃないかなと思ってます。
So basically, it's because it's simple, and that Pac-Man, right now, you can see that it's only his mouth that's moving. Of course, eating is an icon, and gaming is an icon. And right now, he only eats with his mouth, but I think it would be fun if he also sings, because that's what you do with your mouth.
歌いましょうか。
Shall I sing? 9番は何ですか？
パックマンフィーバー、パックマンフィーバー。
You can sing with Jerry Buckner tomorrow. Jerry will be here actually tonight, so we can sing together. Karaoke. Yeah. Okay, so those were the prepared questions that we had. Do you guys want to talk about some stuff? Any questions? No? Okay. Billy, you can always talk. I can always talk too, so we're going to have a contest now. Oh, nope, sorry.
All right. If you still play games, what are your favorite current ones, if not past ones?
Who are you asking? Iwatani-san? Yeah.
今、Okay, sorry. 今現在ゲームとかされてますか？されてるんでしたら何が一番好きですか？
はい、今ゲームをプレイすることは今大学で学生たちにゲームを教えてますので、そういう意味で、新しいゲームを今までにないゲームを今研究開発しています。それはですね、ゲームをするときは皆さんこういうディスプレイを見ますよね。で、コントローラーがありますね。で、あと人間がいますよね。はい、それが体にディスプレイがあって、それからコントローラーをキネクトのようなものでセンシングして、ディスプレイとコントローラーと人間が3つ一緒になったものを今開発してまして、私の東京工芸大学のホームページに行くと見れます。
So, let me see if I can go back. So, right now, rather than playing games, I'm a professor. I teach. I'm teaching, developing new games. And currently, when you think about gaming, you have a display in front of you, you have a controller, and you have the human. Well, we're developing something where the display, the controller would all be in the body, connected with something like a Kinect. So the display, display が中心、体中心ですか？
ディスプレイがね、こういっぱいあるの、ウェアラブルね。
Yeah, it's a wearable display. So all three would work together. You'd have the controller, the display, and the human all together. So currently at the Tokyo Polytechnic College is where he's teaching. University, I'm sorry. Sorry? Tokyo?
Tokyo
Polytechnic University.
So, yes, okay. So this is to both David and the professor, and also you, Billy. What do you guys think about hosting an annual World Pac-Man Championship?
Well,
Okay.
she's working that out. I think it's great. I mean, to this day, we still have a lot of people interested in playing, and so obviously we love having people come in to play. I'd love to talk about that. So we'll have that conversation later, I'm sure, Triforce. What do you think of that, Billy? You ready to play again?
Oh, absolutely. I'll start with you. But the fact of the matter is, when I go somewhere to play, there'll be a small group of people will gather and they'll be fascinated for a short time. But the idea that you would stand there trying to look at the screen, just see me, and you'd stand there for 4 or 5 hours while I play one game would make a lousy contest. So there's different ways it has to be broke up. I mean, I've gone to New York before. I've been at a movie theater where the guy says, "Oh, I wanted you to play in front of all my patrons." And it only took one time that I went there with my back to the audience for 4 or 5 hours. I turned around, almost nobody was there, and all they were saying was that arrogant son of a gun wouldn't even talk to us. So, you know, there's different ways to do things correctly, like you're saying, but maybe not the standard way.
Yeah, that sounds like it'd be really boring, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, if I can jump in on this question, one of the things that we have with mobile is in the latest update, we actually brought in tournaments on iOS for the first time ever, and that's that sort of experience where you can play in a worldwide competition right now. And one of the things that we want to do is expand that whole tournament, make it cross-platform, so that way people on Amazon, people on Google Play, and people on iOS can all play against each other in a sort of a unified tournament, which then could lead into, you know, them coming and playing in a actual competition, you know, perhaps here at 257, you know, for like the world, you know, title kind of thing. I think that there's a way that we can bridge the gap between the arcade consoles competition and mobile competition, and have that foster competition with all Pac-Man players, no matter where you go. But it's a little hard to lug around a machine. It's a little easier to bring your phone or your tablet with you.
This question is actually for Billy. So obviously you made your fame playing the original game, becoming the first perfect high score. What do you think of the newest incarnations of the game?
Well, again, there's...
We're having microphone problems. Oh, wow. Try now.
Try now.
All right.
Well, again, that question is so individualized to each game. For example, Pac-Man Battle Royale, I think it's the perfect game for a bar or restaurant atmosphere. It's relatively short. It doesn't keep score. It doesn't intimidate anybody from playing. Nobody gets embarrassed. So the fact of the matter is there's so many different derivatives, and they do fit in so many different aspects of life that my answer is I guess they're all good in their place, and when they're out of the place, they're all boring. So.
This is for Professor Iwatani. The question is, if you're looking at the early Pac-Man games, early 8-bit arcade games, compared to the technology that you have today, which do you think is more freeing to you from a creative perspective? To be able to work in that sort of solo environment that you did when you were creating the early games, or in the big, blockbuster, complicated 3D worlds of today?
オリジナルのパックマンも好きですし、それからこういう立体的なパックマンも好きなんですね。両方とも持ち味がありますので、2人の子供のうちどちらが好きだというのを答えられないのと一緒です。
So I like both the original and the the current, like the 3D or the more technical. They each have their good points, but that's like asking which child do you like better.
Anything else? Okay.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you for being here. I would really love to know from everybody what your favourite memory of Pac-Man is, please.
パックマンのいい思い出、ですね、苦労したところもあるんですけれども、パックマンを作ってた時には中村正也が社長だったんですけども、ビショップが尊敬する中村さんなんですけども、ちょっと伝えてください。
So with Pac-Man, there were struggles, but while making it, working with the President Nakamura-san,
開発の途中に中村社長に試しにプレーをしてもらって、この後作り続けていいかというジャッジをしてもらったんですけど、その時にゴーストが4色違うんですね。それは女性ターゲットなのでカラフルな4色にしたんですけども、中村社長はこの4匹のゴーストを全部赤にしろという命令が下ったんです。
So during the development, I asked Nakamura to test play the game, and I asked him to judge it. Now there were 4 different colorful ghosts because it's a game for women, designed for women. But Mr. Nakamura said, no, they have to be red. They have to all be red.
で、社長センスがないですねって言ったら私クビになっちゃうんで。
So I couldn't tell the boss, you have no sense of style, because I would be fired.
なので、女性ターゲットなので、カラフル4色にしたいので、開発の40人に聞きましたら、40人とも4色がいいと。で、40対0の紙を、社長に見せてですね。
So I took a survey amongst the 40 people in the development team. And explained that, women are target. And 40 people agreed that it should be 4 colors. So I handed the boss a piece of paper that said 40 to 0.
中村社長は社長だから経営者だから数字で判断する。経営者っていうのはデータで判断するので、データを判断した、そしてその後4色で、いいよと言ってくれたのは素晴らしい経営者としての判断だったと思います。
So because Mr. Nakamura was in sales, for sales people you have to give them data. So the fact that after he saw that data, he realized he gave the approval for the 4 different colors, which means that he was a fantastic salesman.
If I could speak on that for a second, just to back him up. Of the 4 ghosts, I mean, the red guy is the tough guy. We don't need 4 tough guys on the screen. 1 is enough.
で、4つのゴーストの中で赤いゴーストが一番厳しいので、4つ難しいゴーストは必要ないです。
Nice.
Marco, I'm going to pitch that question to you. You want to dive in on that one about your favorite? What was your favorite memory of Pac-Man?
Yeah, sure. So I played Pac-Man the first time when I was very young, and the reason for that is because it was on a tabletop arcade machine. So I was too small to reach the big ones. I'd have to find a stool or have somebody hold me up. But on the tabletop ones I could play. So I played a lot of Pac-Man on the tabletop machines when I was young, and I have to say that's my favorite experience, playing Pac-Man.
How about you, Ben?
Oh, there's quite a bit, but like my favorite experience, I grew up in like rural Montana, so to try to find an arcade was like a 60-mile drive or like an hour commitment with my parents. So when we finally got Pac-Man on the 2600, like suddenly like 20-30 kids showed up at my living room, and we had our own Pac-Man contests in the living room. My parents would kept asking, when are they going home? But I remember that summer we just played Pac-Man like nonstop, and so that I think that was my first experience like really just with Pac-Man. And then I have to say that like just being at Bandai Namco and being a kid that like played Pac-Man and then being able to be sort of the custodian of Pac-Man at the moment and guarding the spirit of Pac-Man, I think that's pretty amazing. So that's one of my favorite things.
Hey there, it's Pac-Man, and I'm here to save the world from themselves. More specifically, from playing with themselves. Now drop the phone and follow me to level 257, an interdimensional world of 8-bit awesome, where you and your whole crew can share pixels, pints, and plates as you discover what it means to play together again. Level 257. So we're talking like 30 billion Nom Noms. Enough to really chomp down on the power pellet market. Now, we don't want to get cornered, of course. Hey, world, it's Pac-Man. Look, when your employees get bored, they start whipping out this. At level 257, we don't have that problem. That's because our meeting rooms are so packed with retro cool and 8-bit awesome, your people can't help but get in the game. And right outside, a world of pure interdimensional magic awaits. And who could possibly play with themselves in a place like this? Don't answer that. Here's the score. At level 257, every moment is shared, every experience is social, and everyone is in the game. Level 257. Play together again. Hey world, it's Pac-Man, sitting in the ruins of a failed relationship. Whatever happened to us? When did we grow so far apart? We used to play together, but now we only play with ourselves, and that's just kinda sad. Look, I've been there, but that was back in the 80s. Since then, the game has changed. Now, I'm all about sharing. Follow me to level 257, where you and your crew can blast 8-bit baddies, share shareable foods like sushi and tapas, and most importantly, discover what it means to play together again. Level 257. Play together again. Our meeting rooms are so packed with retro cool and 8-bit awesome, your people can't help but get in the game. And right outside, a world of pure interdimensional magic awaits. And who could possibly play with themselves in a place like this? Don't answer that. Look, if you want your people to play together again, you're going to need balls. Like these. Level 257. Play together again.
...2010 is the 30th anniversary of Pac-Man, loved by many people throughout the years and around the world. Let us take a look at its history. Pac-Man was developed by Toru Iwatani with the help of several members of his team. At the time, the female-friendly concept behind this game was an original approach. Pac-Man was first introduced to the public on May 22, 1980. Game enthusiasts at the exhibition were particularly excited by the game's visuals and sounds. This day has become Pac-Man's birthday. In July of that year, Pac-Man went on sale in Japan and quickly captured the hearts of many people. In October, it arrived in Chicago. Very quickly, it achieved its big break. By adding various new types of hardware, many new versions of the game were sold. In the first half of the 80s, Pac-Man became a social phenomenon in America. This phenomenon was called Pac-Man fever. Over 450 items of Pac-Man licensed merchandise were sold by roughly 250 companies. In 1982, the song Pac-Man Fever sold over 1 million records, receiving a Golden Album Award. Also, the animated TV show The Pac-Man Show had the greatest rating ever at 56%. Called the Mickey Mouse of the 80s, it was featured prominently in all media. Amid this Pac-Man fever, to thank the American public for its huge success in the U.S., direct contributions were made to help refurbish the San Francisco cable car network. This led to further success for Pac-Man. The founder of Namco Bandai Games, Mr. Masaya Nakamura, was dubbed as the father of Pac-Man. In 7 years, Pac-Man sold a total of 293,822 units. In 2005, it was recognized by Guinness World Records as the most successful coin-operated game. Since 2000, Pac-Man's popularity has continued to grow. New editions and variations of Pac-Man are always appearing in the store and in arcades, and a large variety of Pac-Man licensed merchandise are still very popular. In 2007, the Pac-Man Championship Edition was introduced. To celebrate this newest edition, the Pac-Man World Championship was held in New York. In the last few years, Pac-Man has expanded its mobile contents, proving popular not only with old fans, but also younger generations. This year, Pac-Man has turned 30, and to commemorate this, Google created a special playable Pac-Man logo on the Google homepage. Pac-Man, the fever continues.
Oh, it's not Billy we're waiting on. It's technical difficulties. How do I punch into this chat though?
Hear you.
There it is.
Hey, shall I call you Benji or Michael?
Benji works. Billy, how are you?
He's got Benji.
All right, hey all, I believe you are finally live. All right, let us know in the comments if you guys can see us and hear us properly.
All right. Says we're live.
There you go. I see all those comments coming through.
Here they come. All good.
Technology nowadays.
Technology. How did we ever live without it?
Yeah, right.
How are we ever going to survive with it? You know, back in the old days, you just pick up the phone and you'd call somebody and they'd hear an audio. Now people won't tolerate that. So, well, let me start things off here. Let me start off the chat, and all of this pressure is going to go on Benji. Benji,
oh, yeah?
You're gonna have people watching, listening, from all over the world, and I would say probably more in the Chicago area than anywhere. And everybody wants to know, when are you going to reopen? Is there any thoughts, any news? Any negotiations? Do you have any pull?
Listen, you know, my prior life, I was a bouncer. Believe me, I'd unfortunately, we are we're at the mercy of fate at this point. You know, rumor has it first couple weeks of January, so we're trying to get open. And believe me, I'm excited, especially for some of our classic gamers out there. I've got a whole area dedicated just to the classic games and all the Pac-Man games. So as soon as I find out, believe me, we will blast it everywhere, and we're gonna have a hell of a celebration.
All right, and everybody's invited, I guess.
Everybody's invited.
Okay. All right. Well, to everyone that's joining in and watching our live, thank you so much for being here. My name is Mohammed. I'm the marketing manager for Namco USA. And today we have on the call Michael Benjamin, who is the general manager for Pac-Man Entertainment. And I'm sure many of you guys are from Chicago, have been to Pac-Man Entertainment. It's a fantastic place, fantastic food, a lot of things to be doing. Anytime I go there, I always find something new to do. It's a great place. Today we're going to be joined by none other than Billy Mitchell. And if you guys are an avid fan of Pac-Man, then you already know who Billy Mitchell is. Mr. Mitchell is considered to be the video game player of the century. He's known to be the first person to achieve the highest score in Pac-Man and several other titles. Today we have the chance to talk to the player of the century and get to know him a little bit better. So Mr. Mitchell, thanks so much for joining us today. We're very excited to have you on the stream.
Oh, I'm always happy. Anytime thing that involves Namco, somehow I seem to have better.
All right. You know, Mr. Mitchell, are you still there? Still with us? It looks like we lost him. Mike, do you see him live, or is that just me there?
Still on my first man.
Oh, there you go. You're back in. You cut off there for a second.
Absolutely.
All right. So, you know, we have a lot of fun and exciting things planned for all of our viewers today. Now, this year, Pac-Man celebrated its 40th anniversary. And unfortunately, due to COVID, we cannot celebrate it together at Pac-Man Entertainment. However, during this live stream, we're going to be giving away some awesome prizes. You saw some of the prizes we put up on Facebook we're going to give away. In addition, for everyone that's watching us today, you will receive 2 free entries to our 40th anniversary sweepstakes. And in the sweepstake, we're giving away a Ms. Pac-Man and a Galaga combination cabinet, as well as this really cool limited edition Xbox One that we have. And there's a lot of other prizes as well. So you guys will see some more information on how you can get your free entries towards the end of the stream. So make sure you guys are watching and stay tuned to win these awesome prizes. And throughout this live stream, we're going to be giving away some other prizes as well. So don't go anywhere. So Mr. Mitchell, tell me a little bit about Pac-Man and how you first learned about Pac-Man.
Well, actually, I was a hardcore pinball player. It was the late 70s into the early 80s, and I'm not a person who embraces change very easily. And everything started pushing towards video games, and I wasn't wanting to do that. And then finally, because that's where the competition was, I stepped towards video games. And there's this big yellow cabinet in the middle of the arcade that nobody could get near. So first, I didn't play it. I couldn't get to it. And but eventually I could, and I began playing it, and I began getting frustrated. But what I remember very much so was, so the time is 1980. It's 1981, and what's so intimidating and relatively new to so many people, myself included, was something called a computer. And now this was a way to be introduced to a computer in a fun, friendly manner. And that's the way that I actually accepted or embraced it. And it was me against the computer. It was me against the AI. It was fun. It was intriguing. And it caused me to want to push myself to higher limits. As time went on, you just simply wanted to get pushed higher and higher. You wanted to be the best one in the arcade. Eventually, you're the best one in the arcade. They can beat you. Other arcades. Well, then I went to Florida looking else was that good or that, and that was my first introduction to it. And I think one of the things that pushed me in that direction was because not only did I see it, but I saw it on TV. I mean, I saw it on the TV show Taxi. It became part of a cultural that made its way into our society. It was fun. It wasn't the same kill, smash. It was awesome.
So it was definitely something different at that time. Now, I'm actually quite young, so I wasn't even around when Pac-Man was released, all right? So I missed all the hype and what it was all about, right? Michael, you were probably there at that time when Pac-Man was there. Do you recall and hearing about Pac-Man?
Me, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I am old, not like you, young man. But so by my house there was an arcade called Aladdin's Castle, and you know, same as Billy, it was like you always saw kind of there was this big attraction around these games, and Pac-Man was being one of them, and totally drew my attention to it as well. So absolutely, I remember going there with a roll of quarters every single day, trying to get up there and get there. And unfortunately, I'm nowhere near the skill level of our esteemed guest, but I got to maybe the 10th or 11th screen.
All right. Well,
it's funny you say that. When a couple of weeks ago, when I met Benji and we were down at Galloping Ghost, I was at one of the extreme levels when I stopped and I was talking to him, and I had lost one guy, but I had 5 left. And I said, "Here, come here. I want to see you play this. I want to see how you do." He had 5 guys to clear one board. He didn't. He kept saying, "Why are the guys going so fast? Why is my guy going so slow? How come they're not turning blue?" And I'm sorry, Benji, that's a game I play with most everybody I meet. So
that was totally unfair. I was done. He's standing there for hours, and I was done in a matter of, I don't know, a minute or two.
Absolutely.
Right. So, Mr. Mitchell, I know just recently you accomplished something very exciting, right? Can you tell us, what that was about and what you were planning to do, and if you actually achieved that goal? Now, a lot of your fans already know that you did achieve the goal, but tell us how you did it and why you wanted that goal.
Well, going all the way back to 2005, I was in the back of the restaurant with a couple of very distinguished players whose names that people would recognize on stream here, and we were playing, and we just wanted to get up to the final phase, the split screen, and we got there, and we're running around, and I'm running around. I'm just having fun. They were eating, to be honest with you, and I ate the secret 9 dots, and I was just running around doing nothing, exploring, when suddenly I heard chomp, and that was number 10, which caused the 2 of them to jump out of their seat and run over. And I said, "Wow, that was number 10. There's only number 10." And meant that perfect score for the 20th reunion edition that you're giving away. To and then sometime shortly Namco coming to visit. And so that's exactly what happened. It remained a secret, and around 2015, one of the distinguished players who was with me when we learned about it, he let the cat out of the bag a little bit. So other people were aware of it to some degree. They hadn't done it. They hadn't executed it. It is a little more difficult. The screen is larger. The joystick is different. I had to relearn it. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I took the time to do it. But it was something that Guinness World Records called Beyond the Perfect Pac-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that when I spoke to them about it way long ago, I said I want to do it on Pac-Man's birthday. May 22nd, on the 40th birthday. And we agreed that I would do it at Namco, at Pac-Man Entertainment. Unfortunately, closed, pandemic, a lot of changes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, a lot of impact on the staff there. You couldn't impose a score or a record on people who were in such a challenging position. A couple times I know you guys tried to reschedule the Pac-Man party, but the world hasn't gotten better yet. So eventually we decided that it would be Guinness has Guinness Day in November, and that's when I would begin. And since we couldn't go to Namco, Namco came to us, and we did it there at Galloping Ghost. And that's where I was saying hi, having fun, picking on Benji. I look forward to coming to Namco and doing something and a Pac-Man party and doing it again.
100%. You know, I mean, we're working very hard on rescheduling the Pac-Man anniversary party, and we're hoping it can be held sometime soon. But with the government regulated shutdowns, it's very hard to say. However, what we can say is when we do reopen and when we have this party planned, it's going to be fantastic. We're sure you do not want to miss it. We're going to have a live DJ. We're going to have some awesome food. We're going to have a cake cutting ceremony. And Mr. Mitchell, obviously, you're invited. So if you can attend it, it'll make that party 10 times better.
Okay, I appreciate that. Mr. Mitchell is usually what they call my son. They usually call me Billy, but
all right, I'll call you Billy. All right, good to know.
But it's do you see how when you take a world of what the effect that Pac-Man has on the people involved, you take a world of celebration like that is Guinness, that is Namco, that is Galloping Ghost, that is the fun, the pastime that all of us, all of us. At least is some awesome. And score that I did. I'll be looking for something else because it's just awesome sharing it with people.
100%. I agree. Now, I know that Pac-Man era 1980s was a fantastic era. The game was very exciting and new to everyone. But aside from Pac-Man, what other games were popular at that time? I know you're known for several other games, but you know, tell us about your experience with the other nostalgic titles that you've played with and experienced at that era.
Well, when I said I initially couldn't get to the big yellow cabinet in the middle because I just couldn't. There was too many people. So I stepped over and I played Donkey Kong. That was the first that I absolutely maxed out to the end, to the kill screen. That was the game that got me in Life magazine. But other games, just by good fortune, I don't really have a reason for it. I seem to pick games that were enormously popular. Centipede was a game that I once played for 47 hours.
Oh my God! How did you manage to do that? I mean,
what?
Yeah, right. That's
I didn't know that.
47 hours.
Crazy.
Yeah, well, what it is back then, not so much now. They had Toys for Tots, and I got sponsored by different people for every hour I could play, just like you get sponsored in a marathon for every hour or every mile you can walk. And we did it in late October, and I said, gee, how many hours do you think I can play? And I mean, I played and played and played and played. And there's other people who could do it as well. I was just too stubborn to quit when I should have. I mean, at 25 million points, it wouldn't have been any less impressive if I did it for 23 million or 21 million or 15 million. I just kept pushing the envelope. But and then every great game like Pac-Man often has a game to follow that's equally as great, like Miss Pac-Man. Donkey Kong had Donkey Kong Jr. Again, there was Centipede. Another game was Burger Time. Again, each one of those games, I feel fortunate that I chose those games. Because of those games' popularity, I met more people. I interacted with more people. And meeting people and sharing the experience of what we're talking about is actually most of the fun.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And most of the games you've actually played have shaped who you are today. Even though I wasn't alive during all these nostalgic game titles, I've grown up playing Pac-Man still. I mean, I know Pac-Man's on many different consoles that you can play now. So I remember the first time I was playing Pac-Man, I believe it was on like PS2 or PlayStation 2. So it goes way back for me then. But unfortunately, it wasn't on the original cabinet for me. But how often did you find yourself playing Pac-Man while growing up, and how often did you play it?
Oh boy, this is see, I never skipped school, and I never missed work. That I had awake at the arcade because video were awesome. They still are. But in the 1980s, what made video games was arcade. And down here in Fort Lauderdale, we had the world's largest arcade, and it was 24 hours every day. So you'd be hard pressed not us there. And again, back then there weren't cell phones. We didn't have pagers, anything. If somebody said, where's Billy? They would go look arcade and they would find me. There were times I had to go into work because somebody didn't show up, and I'm walking around the arcade and suddenly I hear a voice behind me, and I turn around, I see somebody from work, and I go, oh no.
Yeah, that's not a good time to be caught.
Yeah, I have to go, I have to go to work, and that was just that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
So
during this time,
I played continuously, to be honest with you.
Okay, so most of the time it was at an arcade, but did you have like a Pac-Man cabinet at home at the time?
In 1983, because some arcades were beginning to close, I was able to get an arcade cabinet. Yeah, I did have one in 1983 for a while, and that's when we made the hardcore advances in strategies, in scores, and knowledge about perfect games and things like that. That was unbelievable. You could imagine, I mean, having a Pac-Man machine in your home would be like a Disney addict having a roller coaster at home. I mean, it was incredible. And then, to be honest, at that time, you couldn't tear me out of my room. I was always in my room. And in some ways, I think it was good. All the different temptations that a teenager has. I was locked into video games. It kept me out of trouble. It kept me past those, away from those dangerous years, if you want to say that, where you could head in the wrong direction. Luckily, I didn't do that.
So, Michael, tell me about you, what you have at home currently. I know you're working at Pac-Man Entertainment, so you're probably getting to play a lot of Pac-Man during your free time there, but do you have something at home?
No, I unfortunately do not have a cabinet at my house. I have, your typical gaming units, PS4s and such, and I go on and play the retro games as well on my phone, as well. But when I want to play a retro game, I just go to work, man. I mean, we got everything from
there you go.
Centipede to, all of them with Pac-Man, Biz Pac-Man. I mean, everything you could think of, it's there. So I pretty much just go to work. So
there you go.
It's funny you say that. One of the good fortunes that I've had with the fun or notoriety that I've gained is I've had companies send me cell phone, and it's a cell that's Pac-Man, and want to know how close authentic is it. Sitting there on a cell phone, this was years ago, and different times companies sent me games and said, here, play this game and tell us what you think. So I was always a little bit of special treatment because of the good fortune I had. And I look back on that, and I mean, I cherish that because the experience of Pac-Man has brought me something that it would have never brought me. The idea that a kid in video games would be flown across the ocean first class to stand on a stage with the godfather of video games, Masaya Nakamoto.
Yeah.
I said to him when I met him, I said, there's not a kid in the world ever played video games that wouldn't want to be right here, right now. And,
No, I agree. Now, one of the questions I asked to everyone watching is if they have any, Pac-Man arcade cabinets at home or not. Now, if you guys don't or you guys want one, here's an awesome chance for you guys to get that. Like I said, we're talking about the sweepstakes, so you guys can win that Miss Pac-Man cabinet or take away an Xbox or win some awesome games. So make sure you guys are staying tuned and engaged in the comments, and we'll make sure we'll get you guys your entries. And we'll announce the winners during the Pac-Man party.
And by the way, if I can just jump in here to answer a few of these, because I can't see these chats, but for the person that asked about the burger time, yes, the burger time and the games are all ready to go. So come on.
So, if you win this Pac-Man cabinet, then you have an opportunity to practice and perhaps beat the game. I mean, Billy already done it. He's already beat it. You won't be the first person, but still an accomplishment to beat the game. Now, I know you have to get a score of 3,333,360 points, which is definitely not easy. So, Billy, tell us how you did that. I mean, how long did it take you to accomplish that goal, and how often would you practice to get that goal?
Well, again, going back to 1983 is where we really poured in the hardcore hours to determine what a perfect score was. There was a secret combination of dots on the final screen, on the split screen. And we learned the secret, and we just kept it a secret, and we didn't share it with anybody, outside of Walter Day. And as time went on, more and more people were getting better and better, but nobody ever knew the secret. I would talk to people, they would claim A, B, and C. I'd talk to them and I'd say, no, don't worry about that guy. And then one day a phone call came, and on a big conference call, I was with some guys from Canada and Walter Day, and I asked them a half a dozen questions that nobody in the world knows the answer to. It's not in any books. It's never been spoken of. And they gave me back a half a dozen answers that nobody in the world would know exactly the way I would have answered them. And at that point I said, wow, these guys are for real. That's an exact quote. And there began the race for the perfect Pac-Man. And I kept saying, I didn't wait all these years. I didn't sit on my hands for somebody to jump in front of me. Again, great guys, great players. And every single dot. D6 and never.
Right.
All right. You're the last one. Okay. Thank you.
I'm gonna kill you. Final secret. You have to know that. They knew that, but they were the first ones that we were aware of who along with us. So that's what made us hit the gas pedal. And that was Ori. Again, my own good fortune. Pac-Man is an icon that has absolutely captured the world. It's become a part of culture. It's as recognizable as Mickey Mouse. So when the story went out, it went out around the world. Publications picked it up. I could have never made that happen. I don't know. I don't think any amount of money could have made that happen. It was just good luck and good energy. And that story made its way around the world. That story made its way to Japan, made its way to Namco. And literally, I mean, I just knew it was coming. And one day I was looking at the phone and I saw that number and I saw the caller ID ring from California. And that was when my relationship with Namco began. So, and that was my ticket across the ocean.
That was pretty exciting. Now, I know there's a couple of different ways to, play better Pac-Man, right? There's a couple of tips and tricks. And one of the things I want to talk to you is I know the Pac-Man Ghosts actually have a different pattern that they take. They all have different behaviors. Can you tell us a little bit about that? But before you go into that, I want to ask you, right? And I want to ask everyone in the audience as well, who your favorite Pac-Man is. Or, I'm sorry, your Pac-Man Ghost. And tell us why.
Yeah, well, I'm a wise guy. And I used to, when people said, who's your favorite ghost? I used to say Casper.
Well, it's always got to be the friendly one, right?
Yeah, but the truth is, my favorite is the red guy because he's the most aggressive. And that's where I focus. The red guy, which is Blinky, also named Shadow. That's where I focus my initial attention first to get control of what I'm doing. And so without a doubt, it's absolutely the red guy. For sure. But in my conversations and the relationship that I formed with Professor Ayatwani, who designed Pac-Man, he shared with me the fact that each ghost has a different personality, a different strategy, a different aggression. And that was something he fought hard for during the development, because people, including Masaya Nakamoto, said, no, they all should have the same aggression, the same color, the same movement. And he argued, and luckily successfully. For example, if you play Rally X, every car has the same personality, the same aggression, the same look. And he argued for it to be different and that it would create a different gameplay. And of course it does. But it was awesome developing a relationship with him, because the thoughts and the struggles that he went through during the development, he shared so many of them with me. I absolutely have them here. Every time I go to a convention, every time I do a panel discussion, every time I'm asked, I have those answers exactly as given to me. And that's a very special experience I've had in my life, is developing the relationship with him, who developed the game, and of course Masaya Nakamoto, who they call the father.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, how many tries did it take you to beat the game? I know you kind of already talked about this, but I was hoping you can actually show me and everyone watching some tips and tricks to get better at Pac-Man. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the Pac-Man game up on there for you, and perhaps you can answer the question, how long did it take you to beat the game, while showing us some tips and tricks.
I guess that's over here.
I think we see Galaga up there now. Let's switch that over to Pac-Man. So,
well, I'll go ahead and start playing, and we'll see if that answers that.
Yeah, I mean, walk us what you're thinking while you're playing this game. Tell us some tips that you've learned or something that's interesting to you.
Well, from the start of the board, for 5 seconds, each one of the 4 adversaries simply goes to cover their corner. After 5 seconds, then they begin to pursue you. And when they begin to pursue you, they pursue you for 20 seconds. After 20 seconds of trying to pursue you, that's when they go and they head to their corner again for 5 seconds. It's coming right here. And when they head to their corners, they don't know where you are. You get literally in their face. They don't know where you are. But after 20 seconds, they're what we call on the hunt again. So you utilize those 5 seconds to do whatever it is you want.
Yeah.
So,
Billy, we're having trouble seeing the screen. I think I don't know if you guys can see that as well, but it's on the menu for me. There you go.
I did not know that it does that for 20 seconds. I was unaware of that. That's awesome. That's a great tip. I didn't realize that's how that worked.
what happens is, once again, for 20 seconds they pursue you, but then again you get a 5-minute break. It's during that time period you can maneuver to a particular place. But every one of them has a movement, like right here. Again, they're back on their 5 seconds.
Huh.
Okay, and now they're back on the hunt.
Yeah, like I said, there's a little bit of a delay about that. That's true. I can see the comments in the chat.
Yeah. Huh. So how many tries did it take you? I mean, so if you want to beat the game right now, how long will it take you to beat it?
Oh.
What I would do is I would play, and I could do it as quickly as 4 hours if I patterns. If I didn't want to use patterns, if I wanted to do it the difficult way, the hard way, the way it's meant to be played, then it would take between 5 and 6 hours. You know, everybody thinks that there's 2 escape routes, and that's each tunnel. But the truth is that there's 6 escape routes. Okay, the 2 that are directly below the box, the vertical ones, and then the 2 above the box. right here. They will not follow you up those routes. So if you're being pursued, not only can you go through any one of the tunnels, but you can simply go up either one of these vertical channels.
Okay.
Right here.
You know, whenever I play Pac-Man, I always try to get the fruits, but sometimes they disappear before I can even get to them, right?
Yeah,
so
you
I know
got
there are
about
different fruits.
once they pop out.
What was that?
Yeah, you have about 10 seconds to get the prize once
10
it pops
seconds.
out.
Okay. And I know different fruits give up different amount of points, but which fruit offers the most? Which one should I not miss?
Oh, eventually you get to the keys, and with the keys, they're worth 5,000 points. So you surely don't want to miss that.
The keys. Yep, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, the keys begin on board 13. And when you play, you eventually go to board 18. And when you're on board 18, as ridiculous as it sounds, you eat the Energizer, or as Professor Ayatwani calls them, the power cookies, and they no longer turn blue.
Okay. Well, you know, you just brought up Professor Awatani. Tell me how you met him and what was it like to meet him? I mean, he's a creator of the Pac-Man game, so he's definitely an icon out there. And tell me how you met him and what you guys talked about.
Right. He actually was not in Japan when I went there in 2000 or in 1999. He wasn't there. But in 2006, I was in New York City at an event, and he was there. And that was the first time that I actually met him. It was the first time that I spent time and conversed with him. And that sounds a little funny because his English is about as good as my Japanese. And that was fun. But without a doubt, the best moments I ever spent with him was there at Pac-Man Entertainment. Of course, back then it was called 257. He was there for the 35th anniversary in 2015. And I met him there, and I spent time with him there. And it was really awesome because he had an interpreter. He was able to tell me secrets, so many different things he did that he knew. For example, I never knew that within 2 years of development of Pac-Man, he was involved in the development of pole position. And I say that because in the arcade, pole position was something that just jumped through the roof because it was the game that came out that had such a tremendous graphics. And I had no idea that his legacy in the world of video games. I mean, it absolutely began with Pac-Man. I mean, he was 22 years old, and being 22 years old and being, the creator of the absolute iconic game that really set the industry on fire is awesome. But again, he was only 22 years old, and it was only the beginning of his storybook career in the world of video games and the development of video games. He's absolutely somebody that, I would go out of my way to see on most any occasion. And I had the distinct pleasure of being there in 1999 in Tokyo when the award was given for the game of the century, which was Pac-Man. It was determined that Pac-Man had been played more times than any other game in history. I mean, not only just any video game, but any game. I mean, including Monopoly or anything. It had been considered that it had been played 10 billion times. And so to be there for Namco, for Masaya Nakamura, and for Professor Ayatwani to have received such an honor, for their creation was awesome.
Yeah, no, he's definitely changed the industry of how we look at gaming, and Pac-Man is easily recognizable by everyone. I mean, everyone knows what Pac-Man is, whether you're born in this generation or the previous one. So everyone knows what Pac-Man is. It's definitely an exciting game to be playing. I think that's a nostalgic game, and it's going to continue growing, I think. Now, I know that you're not only great at Pac-Man, but many other games. You were named the Video Game Player of the Century in 1984. but you were also, recognized for Donkey Kong. So tell me some experience or some challenges you faced while playing Donkey Kong.
Well, video game player, 1984 was video game player of the year. It was there in Tokyo.
Billy, can you actually move your speaker right in front of you? I'm hearing an echo. Thank you. There you go.
Actually, 1984 was video game player of the year. Video game player of the century was 1999.
Right.
There in Tokyo. Again, to be in the presence and to be honored like that by Masaya Nakamoto was beyond incredible. Game with Donkey Kong more than anything, the idea of wanting to be a photo thread with a group of players in what was considered the world's first organized esport event. But it with Donkey Kong that absolutely lit me up in the world of competitive gaming. I wanted nothing more than to play and be the best. But again, I sit there and I look around and I say, if I'm going to be the best, I have to be the best at the game that is highest in demand. It happens to be a game that I enjoyed so much, Pac-Man, but I can take anybody out there, anybody, and tomorrow, and you can get the world record on Squid Search because nobody ever submitted a score on Squid Search. But the competition on games like Pac-Man were incredible. So it began with Donkey Kong, but once I made my mark there at Life magazine, I knew the next mark that I had to make was stepping up even, and that was to Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, who has a birthday next year. But one of the things that makes a difference, and I guess I'm saying thank you here, Namco created these games, and Namco has worked very, very hard throughout the years. Pac-Man and Pac-Man and the derivatives of Pac-Man that have come afterwards from Namco have been terrific, and they have worked really hard to make Pac-Man a cultural icon. I mean, besides cereal, besides board games, I mean, besides music, it is always and forever evolving. Namco constantly does something to keep their creation in the spotlight. That's not true with every company. Not every company has the heart or the emotional attachment like Namco does with Pac-Man. A lot of companies, they produce a game, they make money off it, they move to the next one. If you want to understand how much Namco loves Pac-Man, just try violating their intellectual property. You'll learn quick.
Very true.
No, they protect Pac-Man just like a parent protects a child. But it's because they push and promote it is why it's continually enjoyed and a favorite by people like me, without a doubt. I often spoke to David Bishop about that because more than anyone throughout those years, he was the go-between between me and Japan. I was at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington where Pac-Man was honored. That's what I mean. What other video game icon has been honored in that manner?
Yep.
I was there with him. There was a lot of questions, panels, filming. All of that was put together, and it was sent back to Japan to Masaya Nakamoto. There was a continued relationship that went on. It's a storybook relationship. And God bless the people at other companies. I don't think anybody else, any other company,
Did we lose you?
I think you froze up for a minute there.
I'm here.
There you go. You're back. Yeah. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of minutes and I'm going to take some questions from the audience, right? So everyone, here's your chance to ask Billy Mitchell, the player of the century, a question. So drop your questions in the comments. We'll pick out a couple of questions. We'll pin it on the screen and you get to ask Billy whatever questions you want. So let's see some of those questions come through.
I've seen a few on there. already. One of them was asking, besides Pac-Man, what's your other favorite game? You have another favorite game, Billy?
Well, my usual answer is I'll be playing. In 1999, I did the perfect score at Fun Spot. Well, 20 years later, I'm playing at Fun Spot to relive that perfect score. And that question came over, and the question was, Billy, what do you enjoy playing more as I'm struggling with Pac-Man? Pac-Man or Donkey Kong? And I looked at the guy and I go, right now, Donkey Kong, a whole lot more. And if I'm playing Donkey Kong and I'm struggling, yes, I wish I was doing nothing but playing Pac-Man. So it's a struggle I go back and forth on. Those are probably the two games that I'm most attached to. And they're certainly the games that have either launched me in a certain direction or given me the greatest level of honor, without a doubt.
All right. Well, so we have a question come in. It says, what's your high score on Junior Pac-Man?
Junior Pac-Man is not something that I've put a lot of time in. I would not say that I've gotten over 200,000 on Junior Pac-Man, but this year is the birthday or the anniversary of Pac-Man. Next year is Miss Pac-Man, so I'll be addressing things. And the following year would be Junior Pac-Man. And it's at that point I'm going to make a really, really hard push. There are other great players on Junior Pac-Man, one in particular, and he's a good guy, and we'll see if I play well enough to, to get next to him. But
Practice
he's a good
makes perfect, right?
Yes.
So one of the questions I was going to ask you was, you said you play consecutively, sometimes for hours. How's your family supportive of that? I know when I'm gone for a couple of hours, it's pulling on my ear and come on, right? So how'd you get away with that?
Well, when you're a kid, when you're young and dumb and you don't have responsibilities, you can just flat out get away with it. People say to me now, how come you don't play any modern games? Why don't you play Fortnite? Because if you played 40 or 50 hours, you wouldn't have a wife, you wouldn't have kids, you wouldn't have a business. I don't even think you'd have a home.
Yeah.
So that's why it's easy to embrace the old games, because once you learn how to ride a bike, you don't forget it. But when I'm at home, I don't play for long periods of time. I'll stream and I'll say hi to all the friends that we've made on the stream. But once I go to an event, once I announce I'm going to do something, like when I went to Fun Spot or when I went to Galloping Ghost, once I announce I'm going to do something, I simply stay there until I do it. And if it means 12 or 14 hours a day, then that's
all right.
I had somebody ask me at Galloping Ghost, they said, Billy, if you didn't get the perfect score here today, how long would you have stayed until you quit? And I said, I don't know. I've never quit. So bad question.
There you go. That's the right attitude.
I gotta tell you, just to piggyback on that, I can attest to that. I witnessed the fact that he does not quit. He played for days to make sure that we made sure that score was beat. So I thought that was fantastic to watch the determination that Billy had for that. It's just amazing.
So we had a question come in from Joe. He said, can you explain the competitive nature of the arcade back in the day, and how did you keep your cool when you were breaking records?
Well, again, video games were awesome, but what made the world turn was the arcades. You can look it up. It's well documented that the music industry and the movie industry took a significant financial hit during those times because it was the arcade that occupied everybody's time. You were there, you were amongst friends, whether those friends played when you played or whether they watched or they look forward to your being there. It was always a friendly level of pressure because you're amongst friends and you want to stay ahead of them. I don't ever remember it being negative or nasty. I mean, not once, ever. And it created a group of people, a niche, just like in high school. You have the jocks here and the nerds here and the geeks here. It was just like that. Back in the 80s, it was considered more geeky or more nerdy to be that video game guy. And the noise, again, being in the world's largest arcade, the noise, the overwhelming noise, distraction, people, it was unbelievable, but I actually think it was positive because then, just like now, if I'm in a barcade, there is so much noise, lights, distractions. It forces a full focus right onto the screen, and you have no choice but to put a radar lock on what you're doing. So I actually think the distraction, the menacing atmosphere of an arcade, I think if you channel it the right way, it was actually a tremendous advantage.
Okay. And then we have another question here. What's your favorite opportunity you were able to have due to your Pac-Man fame? So something you came across that changed your life.
Oh, without a doubt. To think as a game player that I was flown across the ocean by Masaya Nakamura, that I was given the honor and the treatment that he gave me, that I was in his Pac-Man studio arcades. There was media there. It was the first time that I was ever somewhere where I had an entourage of people in front of me that I didn't know. I mean, they were security because the crowd was tremendous. And sometime at one point, the crowd got a little rowdy or pushy, and they grabbed me on, I thought I was under arrest. They grabbed me like by each elbow, and they whisked me in the back room because the crowd had gotten so rowdy, I guess. And then we waited a little while, and it was safe, and so we went back out there. It was a lot of fun. I got to say that, like, one of the most sweating moments was I'm being interviewed by Japanese TV, and of course that's challenging. And they said, "Gee, can you give us an example of your gameplay?" And I said, "Sure." And the intention was just to play 3 boards. And I'm playing the very first board. And I suddenly realized that this was different from what I was used to in the United States. I took off, and like on the second corner, I'm about to get pinned in the corner. You can imagine I flew all the way to Japan to get pinned and embarrassed in the second corner. But I recognized it just as it happened, and I managed to bail out and get out. And it just took longer, but I managed to do the screen and survive, and I managed to get my bearings. And instead of doing 3 boards, I did 2. And I was so thrown off balance. After the second board, I turned around like, okay, I'm done. I didn't want to risk it a third time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really fun. But without a doubt, getting to the honor, after that experience, being in the Namco corporate offices, I was in a room. I had just met a gentleman by the name of Mr. Icky, who was a terrific guy and a personal assistant to Masaya Nakamura. He spoke English better than me. He explained that they were coming in and they were going to be seated to talk to me. And Masaya Nakamura walked in with 8 other guys. It was his inner circle of programmers, his inner circle of marketing people. And to think that I was seated there, and it's the very first thing I said, to think that I'm seated here in front of you, I said, there's not a kid in the world that ever played video games that wouldn't want to be right here, right now. And I had told him that it was the second time I had met him. I had met him in 1983 in New Orleans, just by chance at a convention in a photo. And he was shocked at that, and he commanded his staff to find the photo. I don't know if they ever did. But I thought I did. I said to myself, I go, man, I can ask any question in the world. Every kid would want to be right here. And I asked him a question about Pac-Man. I asked him a question about the split screen. I asked him as to why it happened. And I said, is it because of this and that? And it's translated to him and the 8 others. And they came back and they said, Mr. Mitchell, we have no idea. We never thought scores like this possible. And I thought, geez, I didn't get an answer. And so I asked another question, really the same question, a little differently. And it went back and forth, back and forth. And Mr. Icky brought back the answer. They said, Mr. Mitchell, you know far more about Pac-Man than we know. We have no idea. Mm-hmm. But that moment that at that point, they had a question for me and I answered it. They had a question for me and I answered it. A question. And for the next hour, I fielded questions that came at me and I never asked another question. And I quickly realized that they had an equal or greater fascination for what we were all exchanging. That speaks to the level of Masaya Nakamura and Namco, that the people that worked, the people that created, they had a passion for what they did. They had an enjoyment. They weren't just pencil pushers. And that meeting was so personal that I actually never spoke of it for 15 years. I never spoke of it. It was too personal to share. I thought that would be insulting. After meeting with Professor Ayatwani for the second time at Pac-Man Entertainment in 2015 for the 35th anniversary, he actually said those things. He actually spoke of those things. And because he spoke of it, I felt the freedom to speak of it like I am now. And it was great because we're on a panel discussion. You could ask him any question about Pac-Man, the development, his thoughts, knowledge, his experience. You asked him any question about the gameplay, and he would just shrug his shoulders and say, "You have to ask Billy." Yeah. I
think if I remember correctly, it was the 35th anniversary of Pac-Man. You guys were in that panel discussion.
Yeah.
The video is still up on our YouTube channel for Pac-Man Entertainment. So if any of our audience members are interested in watching that panel discussion, just visit our YouTube page and you can watch that discussion there.
Yeah, we had given him an award there. It was really, really good and really, really flattering. But I really like sometimes my friends are wise guys, and that's my favorite part. They say, "Oh, you think you know everything?" I go, "Well, oh, you think you know more about the game than the guy who made it?" And I go, "Well, yeah, he told me I did." You know. Sorry. So,
here's one more question we'll ask. What's your favorite menu at Pac-Man Entertainment? Now, I'm sure anytime you're in the area, you're making your trips to Pac-Man Entertainment. Do you remember any of the menu items that you enjoy?
Absolutely. Well, I enjoyed everything, but absolutely the wings.
The wings.
And
what about you?
Funny is,
tell me
yeah, I'll order the wings, and they'll say, "You don't want anything else?" And I'll say, "No, just the wings." And they'll say, "Well, okay, I'm going to bring you something else too." And I'll eat the wings. Maybe that's like an appetizer, and then they'll bring me some kind of surprise, whatever it is. But I've never had anything there that wasn't good, ever.
There you go.
And it's awesome because I'll be seated there. There's other Pac-Man enthusiasts somewhere, and people come up, and we have these same level of conversation, admiration. I see one person's asking. I was there at the time called 257 with Professor Ayatwani, and he openly said that he couldn't play, that he was lucky to get 20,000. And he said, "I never thought anybody would get more than 60 or 80,000. So I called him over and I said, "Okay, here." And you have a machine there called level 255. And it starts off at the board, one board before the end of the game. And you do that ultimate difficult board, the one that Benji crashed on 5 times.
Keep bringing it up, Billy. Keep bringing it up.
And then you get to play the split screen. Well, I said to him, I go, "Here, come here. Let me show you this." And just because the professor's a novice at playing, I ran what we call the invincible pattern, where you actually go through 4 different ghosts 4 different times. And I mean, his eyes are lighting up like this.
Wow.
And then we get to the split screen. And I actually showed him how to do the split screen and how to do it and stay alive. And he can. And I said, now all you got to have to do is learn how to do the 255 boards before that. And he said, yeah, he said, "Not in my lifetime, never." So.
What about you, Michael? What's your favorite item over at Pac-Man Entertainment?
Me? Oh my gosh, there's so many good things there.
Right?
Really, thank you for the compliment. We really appreciate it.
Well, Michael, there's a rumor that each day when you eat lunch there, you open the menu and you just say, "Okay." That's just a rumor now. There's a lot of rumors out there.
And I can neither deny nor accept that confirm that rumor. Listen, man, we got lots of great things there. Me personally, I love our sushi. I think our sushi is great, and our quesadilla bites that we recently brought back are one of my favorites for sure. So,
aside from that, I hear a lot of good things that are coming out of Pac-Man Entertainment. I know you're working on adding some things to our menu, and you're working with the chef and one-on-one to make sure that we can bring back some of the exclusive items and add new items on there. Aside from that, I know that you guys also have a new website. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So we took this time, obviously, with the pandemic going on, to kind of reevaluate and kind of tighten some things up. So we took the opportunity to create a brand new website, which is great. I think it showcases some of our great food there, also our great arcade room and our bowling alleys as well. And I recommend everybody kind of go there and check it out. We got some great stuff, and we've got some new stuff happening. As a matter of fact, next week we're going to try and start doing some carryout, some catering, some things like that. And eventually we're going to try and connect with some of these delivery companies and start doing some deliveries. So that's exciting stuff. And listen, first and foremost, Billy and I will touch base, but as soon as this pandemic clears out, I got to say, I'm going to work with Billy's schedule, and we got to get him out there. And I want to have the greatest, biggest, fantastic party for Pac-Man's 40th and maybe 41st at that point. But we definitely want to just have a huge blowout. I know, Mohammed, you mentioned the live DJ. We'll actually have Pac-Man himself will be there as well. And again, we're going to have Billy there as our host as well, as one of our guests to just celebrate. So I know everybody, if you're anything like me, you're going stir crazy. So we're just looking forward to that. And, as Billy kind of mentioned too, and don't forget, next year, Ms. Pac-Man, you also got Galaga coming up. Dig Dug's anniversary is coming up as well. And he mentioned Junior Pac-Man as well. So there's a lot of great things that are starting to happen in the next couple of years, even though 2020 has been, a dumpster fire, if you will. But we're looking forward to celebrating those Namco's classic arcade games there at Pac-Man Entertainment. So
that's awesome and exciting stuff to hear. Now, starting Monday, I know you can order carryout directly from our website. So starting Monday, make sure you visit our website and order carryout. You can pay online and pick up. And a lot of exciting stuff that's going to be coming out as well. So stay tuned on our social media. Now, I know there's a lot.
Well, I have one question coming across here.
Yeah.
They want to know, since you're going to have the menu items on carryout, is it possible you could put the games right outside the front door, and then people can play the games outside the front door? Just a rumor.
Just a rumor, huh? That's a pretty good selection. If I could have any type of gaming, we may just take that idea and run with it. We'll see. That would be legal for us to put it right outside the front door. We actually did have that over the summer. We brought a few games downstairs, so it's not a bad idea. Great call, Billy.
Well, I would say one other thing. Again, I keep stressing how Namco, how Pac-Man Entertainment, they work harder than most anyone else, on their icons, on what they've created in order to keep them forever in front and being enjoyed. It's incredible to me that you guys are putting an actual 20th anniversary edition to be given away to the public. One of the things that I kept talking about as I was at Galloping Ghost when you visited, and I wanted to say was, people were asking, how they can get involved with it. But my original vision back in May was to simply go there on Pac-Man's birthday and do a perfect score. And it wouldn't have mattered what machine I did it on. Right. But it was awesome that I realized that you were giving away a 20th anniversary machine, which obviously coincided and made sense when I was sent the email, and the email said, "Hey, Billy, you're going to do this perfect score. How about if you do it on the 20th anniversary machine?" Right. And I said, absolutely, I'll do that. Because I guess I want everyone in the world to know what you guys are doing and how do they participate in order to win the machine. Do they have to be there to win it? Do they have to be playing? Do they have to be eating while they play? Do they have to be dressed in a Pac-Man costume? So yeah, I don't know the answer to all that.
Well, you can fill out entry forms every single day with us once we get reopened. You can also do that on our website as well, I believe, Mohammed, right? And then also we do ask that you're present for the giveaway, for the sweepstakes. So whenever that does, so we do ask that you are present. We are going to have it at the party. So we definitely do that. No need to come dressed as Pac-Man. However, we always encourage everybody to come dressed in their best Pac-Man garb. It's been fun over the years to see people come in. I mean, I've got pictures. I mean, for those who don't know, there's a Pac-Man tuxedo. There's all kinds of Pac-Man ties and all kinds of Pac-Man clothing as well. So dresses and everything I've seen. So feel free to come dressed as that. But you definitely would recommend that you are. We do like if you were there at the party for the giveaway. But like I say, man, I'm just looking forward to it and excited to get it going once we're able to do this.
Yeah.
Right, but how do you actually enter? I mean, can you enter online?
Yeah,
Sure.
well, so you guys can see information on that screen right there. Everyone that's watching gets 2 free entries to enter. So this is your only method of entering online. Otherwise, once we do reopen, you can enter at our location. So you can either scan that QR code right there and fill out that form. If you can't scan that QR code, just visit rebrand.ly/PME and submit that form. You only need to submit one form. Your entry will be counted twice. So that's all you need to do to enter and get your 2 free entries. And again, as Michael said, we'll announce the winner on the day of the Pac-Man party, and hopefully we'll release some more information on that soon. So stay tuned on our social media pages and keep an eye out.
And every once you make that decision, once you have those dates etched in stone, I'll speak of them every single time, every single day that I stream.
Appreciate that.
Because I want it there. Absolutely.
All right.
Starting today, I'll do that for sure.
Perfect. And,
Thank you, Billy.
All right, Benji, Billy, thank you so much for taking some time and answering some of these questions with me. I appreciate everyone else watching and answering your questions as well. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the stream. This will be on Facebook for later as well, so if you guys missed any portion of it, please go back and rewatch it. But just as a heads up, this QR code will be open for the next 15 to 30 minutes. So you can only enter from now till the next 15 to 30 minutes, so make sure you get your forms in. But thank you everyone for watching, and Billy, thank you so much for joining us again.
You're always welcome, sir. I'm here, and I guess I'll be here as long as Pac-Man's here. So
of course, hopefully we'll do this. If everyone liked it, we'll come up with some awesome content for you guys, and we'll do another live stream.
Thank you, Billy.
You're always welcome, sir.
All right, thank you, everyone.
All right.